Subscribe to my channel Report Stock.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We know navigating that constant stream of financial news, all those company reports, it can feel overwhelming, right?
Absolutely. It's like trying to hear a whisper in a hurricane sometimes.
Exactly. So how do you cut through all that noise to
Yep.
find the insights that, actually matter?
Well, that's what we try to help you with here.
Our mission today is really to give you that shortcut, help you get properly informed about a really crucial and fast-moving part of the tech world. Today, we're diving deep, really getting into the weeds of cloud-based information security. We're putting Zscaler, that's ZS, under the microscope, looking at their latest Q4 earnings.
And we'll also take a quick look at Adobe Systems, ADBE, just to get a bit of that wider tech sector context.
The goal isn't just like listing numbers. We want to understand the story behind the numbers. What do they tell you about where a company's heading, its position, the whole industry?
Hmm.
I'm actually really excited to unpack these figures, see what's really driving these tech giants.
And that's exactly where the value is for you listening. It's fascinating how you can take these quarterly reports, which often just look like, a bunch of data points,
Yeah, just numbers on a page.
and actually build a clearer picture, a picture of a company's health, its fundamentals, and really importantly, its future potential.
So connecting the dots.
Precisely. Connecting those individual company results, the beats, the misses, to the bigger market trends and what investors are thinking and feeling right now.
Absolutely. And speaking of beats, Zscaler, well, they really delivered in Q4. They didn't just meet expectations.
No, they really
They
did.
came out swinging, delivered some really strong numbers that definitely got the market's attention. Let's get right into those earnings figures. Zscaler reported $0.89 per share.
Okay.
Now that smashed the Zacks consensus estimate, which was $0.08 per share.
Significant beat there.
Yeah, but interestingly, it was also just a slight tick up from $0.88 a year ago. So steady progress there too.
Right. Year-over-year growth, even a slight, is still growth.
And that earnings surprised this quarter.
Right.
It wasn't just good. It was a pretty remarkable plus 11.25%.
Wow. Okay. And, consistently beating those analyst estimates, it's more than just like a good headline for the company.
Mhm.
It often signals that management is really good at forecasting, or maybe they're guiding a bit conservatively.
Setting expectations they know they can beat.
Potentially, and investors tend to like that. It means they consistently over-deliver, which, especially in today's volatile markets, really builds confidence. It says a lot about their operational execution, their planning.
And the consistency you mentioned, that seems really key here. This wasn't just a one-off.
Right at all.
Zscaler has actually beaten those consensus EPS estimates 4 times. 4 times over the last 4 quarters.
That's the track record you look for.
Think about that. A whole year of beating expectations. Even the quarter before this one, they had a plus 12% surprise. Came in at 84 cents when 65 cents was the number.
Yeah.
That kind of predictable outperformance, it really builds a strong story for investors, doesn't it?
Yeah. It absolutely does. That consistency over multiple quarters, it really points towards a robust business model. Predictable performance,
Especially in cybersecurity.
especially in cyber, which is, high stakes, changing all the time. That predictability is incredibly valuable. It suggests Zscaler isn't just like riding some temporary wave. They're actually steering the ship effectively.
Okay, so strong earnings, consistent beats,
Yeah.
but earnings are only half the story, maybe less. We need to look at the top line too, right? The revenue.
Exactly. That's the growth engine.
Because that's where you see if the business itself is expanding.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the earnings. Their revenue figures were also really strong. For the quarter ending July 2025, Zscaler reported revenues of $719.23 million.
Okay.
That didn't just meet the Zacks consensus estimate. It topped it by a solid 1.84%.
Another beat.
Another beat. And put that in context. It's a big jump from the $592.87 million they did in the same quarter last year.
That's significant year-over-year growth.
That's real tangible growth, yeah.
And what's really fascinating there, I think, is that this growth isn't just, happening in a vacuum. It really reflects this huge shift that's underway towards cloud-native security.
The zero trust architecture idea.
Exactly, zero trust. Zscaler is a clear leader in that space. Companies are fundamentally rethinking their security, moving away from old school perimeter defenses.
Right.
And Zscaler's platform, it's proving to be a really compelling, scalable solution for how businesses operate now. They're basically capitalizing directly on a massive market transformation.
That makes a lot of sense. So they're not just growing, they're growing because they're aligned with where the whole industry is headed.
Precisely. They're skating to where the puck is going, so to speak.
And again, that pattern holds. The company also topped consensus revenue estimates 4 times over the last 4 quarters.
Wow, okay, so both EPS and revenue beats 4 quarters running.
Yeah. So you're seeing this sustained outperformance on both the top and bottom lines. It paints a very clear picture of momentum, real momentum. Now, here's where it gets really compelling for you, especially if you're watching market sentiment. Zscaler's stock. Oh, it's been on quite a tear this year.
I saw that.
Since the beginning of the year, Zscaler shares have added about 53.6%.
53.6? That's huge.
It's huge. Now, put that in perspective. Compare it sharply with the S&P 500. Over that same period, the S&P gained just 9.8%.
Okay, so nearly 5.5 times the market return.
Yeah, a massive divergence. Really significant outperformance relative to the broader market.
Well, that kind of outperformance, it clearly reflects investor confidence, doesn't it? Confidence in Zscaler's growth story, their recent financial strength.
That has to.
When a company not only beats estimates consistently, like we've discussed, but also shows strong revenue growth and does it in such a critical, expanding sector like cloud security, well, investors tend to reward that. They give it a premium valuation.
Yeah.
The market is clearly very optimistic about Zscaler's strategy, their position, and their execution.
That's quite a vote of confidence from the market.
Yeah.
So, okay, they've had this incredible run, posted these impressive numbers.
Yeah.
The critical question then becomes, for anyone trying to understand this,
Right.
what does it mean for next?
Right. The million-dollar question.
How do you gauge if this momentum can keep going? Or, has the market already priced in all this good news? Is the run over?
Yeah, and that really gets to a crucial point for longer-term understanding. Those past results. Undeniably fantastic, no question.
Right.
But whether the stock price keeps climbing immediately based on these recent numbers, that heavily depends on what management says on the earnings call.
Ah, the forward-looking guidance.
Exactly. Investors are tuning in, listening incredibly closely for their outlook, their guidance for the coming quarters and year. That's where you get a sense of what they expect to deliver. And beyond that, there's strong evidence, empirical research shows this, a really strong link between near-term stock moves and trends in what we call earnings estimate revisions.
Earnings estimate revisions.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
It's basically how professional analysts adjust their predictions for a company's future earnings after new information, like this earnings report, comes out.
So they react to the news and update their forecasts.
Precisely. And upward revisions. They're generally a very powerful positive signal for the stock price.
Okay, so if analysts are boosting their future estimates after the report, that's a good sign. Tells you there might be more upside.
That's the general idea, and there are tools for tracking this. The Zacks rank is one well-known system. It's proprietary to Zacks Investment Research, but it effectively harnesses the power of these estimate revisions.
Right, I've heard the Zacks rank.
It gives investors a kind of quick snapshot of what the revisions trend suggests. And interestingly, before this specific earnings report came out, the estimate revisions trend for Zscaler was actually, well, it was mixed.
Mixed? Really? Even with those consistent beats leading up to it?
Yeah, mixed.
Okay, that's a really important nuance for you listening.
Yeah.
So what does mixed mean in terms of their Zacks rank right now? And what does it imply about the stock's near-term path? Does a hold mean the party's over? Or just maybe cooled off a bit?
That's a great way to put it. Cooled off might be closer. That mixed trend translates into a Zacks rank #3 right now, which is categorized as a hold.
Hold, okay.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the party's over, as you said, but it is a signal to maybe temper expectations a little, especially after such a massive run-up in the stock price.
Right, manage expectations.
It suggests that while the company has done exceptionally well, based on how analysts are currently tweaking their estimates, the shares are now expected to perform more in line with the overall market in the near future.
Ah, okay. So not necessarily underperform, but maybe not continue that huge outperformance we saw.
Exactly. Not the same rapid pace. Anyway, it suggests the market has, largely factored in the recent good news already. The stock price might reflect the current reality fairly well now.
That's a vital distinction. So stellar past, yes, But the forward-looking indicators, like these estimate revisions captured by the rank, suggest maybe a normalization in its market performance.
That's a reasonable interpretation.
Okay, let's talk concrete numbers then. What are analysts actually projecting for Zscaler going forward? What do the consensus estimates look like now?
For the upcoming quarter, the consensus EPS estimate is $0.83. That's on revenues of about $749.87 million.
Okay, so still projecting growth quarter over quarter.
Yes, definitely still growth. And looking out for the current full fiscal year, analysts are forecasting a consensus EPS of $3.57 on revenues of $3.19 billion.
Right.
So growth is clearly still expected, but that hold rank adds that layer of context, suggesting the pace of stock outperformance might slow down.
And remember, it's never just about one company's own health and isolation.
Right, the environment matters. Hugely. You know that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats? It really applies here. Even a fantastic company can find it tough going if its industry is struggling.
True.
The health of the broader industry can significantly impact a stock's path, no matter how good its individual numbers look.
That makes perfect sense. You want those industry tailwinds behind you. So let's zoom out then. How healthy is the security industry where Zscaler lives? How does it stack up?
It's actually looking pretty good. The security industry, the group Zscaler belongs to, is currently ranked in the top 33% of all the 250-plus industries that Zacks tracks.
Top third. That sounds positive.
It's a very positive indicator. Our research at Zacks, looking back over years, consistently shows that the top 50% of Zacks-ranked industries tend to outperform the bottom 50% by a factor of more than 2 to 1.
Wow, 2 to 1. That's significant.
It is. So Zscaler benefits from being in a strong, growing industry, an industry that, as we were just saying, is undergoing this fundamental transformation towards cloud and zero trust.
Right.
So that gives you, the listener, really valuable context on those powerful external forces that can boost or hinder a stock's performance. Zscaler has that wind at its back.
That's a huge advantage, being positioned well within a strong industry that's also undergoing major positive shifts. Okay, so while we're digging into tech dynamics, let's take that quick comparative peek you mentioned earlier. Adobe Systems, ADBE.
Right, a different beast within tech, but useful for comparison.
It gives us another angle, right?
That's
A
it.
glimpse into different currents within the broader software world. Adobe belongs to the wider Zacks computer and technology sector, and they're expected to report their Q3 results. That's for the quarter ending August 2025 on September 11th. So coming up soon.
Okay.
For that report, the expectation is quarterly earnings of $5.17 per share. That would be year-over-year change of plus 11.2%. Solid growth there, too.
Decent growth, yeah. Well, what's interesting to note there, especially if we're contrasting with Zscaler's consistent positive momentum and those beats, is that the consensus EPS estimate for Adobe has actually been revised slightly lower, down 0.1% over the last 30 days.
Oh, interesting. Downward revision, even if tiny.
It's small, yes, minuscule, really. But it offers an interesting contrast, doesn't it? It suggests that analysts, while still expecting growth, might be factoring in some specific headwinds or maybe competitive pressures for Adobe.
In their core markets, maybe, like creative software or document cloud.
Could be things that perhaps aren't impacting Zscaler's very specialized cybersecurity niche in quite the same way right now. It just highlights different dynamics.
That's a good point. Even tiny shifts in analyst sentiment like that can be little signals about subtle differences in market perception across the tech landscape. What about Adobe's revenue forecast for Q3?
Adobe's revenues are expected to hit $5.9 billion. That would be up 9% from the year-ago quarter.
Okay, so still healthy top-line growth projected there as well.
Yeah.
9% is nothing to sneeze at.
Definitely not. Adobe is a powerhouse, no doubt. But comparing these outlooks, even just briefly like this, helps you see the different dynamics really playing out within that big tech sector label.
Right.
That slight downward tick on Adobe's EPS estimate, for example, even with strong revenue growth, that's something investors would absolutely notice. It speaks to expectations about future profitability, not just sales.
We've certainly unpacked a lot today. We've gone from Zscaler's really strong past performance,
Those consistent beats, yeah.
all the way to the more nuanced signals about what might come next. And we even took that quick look at Adobe for some broader context. So to recap, Zscaler's impressive track record, those earnings and revenue beats driven by their lead in cloud and zero trust security,
Yeah.
that's clear.
Check.
Then, the critical role of what management says next for the stock's immediate future.
Absolutely crucial, the guidance.
And that mixed outlook, reflected in the current Zacks rank #3, the hold, suggesting maybe a normalization after that huge run.
A key piece of the puzzle right now.
And we also touched on the importance of industry strength security being in that top 33%, giving Zscaler a helpful tailwind.
Right, the rising tide effect.
We covered a lot of ground.
Indeed. And remember, understanding how all these pieces fit together the company's past, its specific niche, the forward-looking estimates, the industry trends, that's really key to grasping its position and potential.
Yeah.
It's not just about the flashiest number. It's about the whole story they tell when you put them together. Every bit of info, from a tiny estimate revision to the industry rank, adds to a more complete and hopefully more valuable picture for you.
Absolutely. We've journeyed from those raw numbers to hopefully some more nuanced insights today. And as you think about all this information, maybe ask yourself this. How do you weigh a company's proven track record against those forward-looking projections and the climate of its industry when you're trying to evaluate where it might be heading?
Good question.
Especially in fields changing as fast as cybersecurity and software. Finding that balance, that's where the really interesting thinking happens. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
Subscribe to my channel Report Stock.